Brought it smashed veggie footlong and some sea salt and vinegar kettle brand chips to enjoy out in the middle of absolute nowhere.
Death Valley National Park, located in California and Nevada, is the hottest, driest, and lowest national park in the U.S. It is home to the Shoshone tribe, who have lived in the valley for at least the past millennium. The valley was named by the 49ers, a group of prospectors lost in the winter of 1849 to 1850. Despite the name, only one person in their group is known to have died there. Covering over 3.4 million acres, it is the largest national park in the contiguous United States and includes part of the Mojave Desert. The park features the lowest point in North America, Badwater Basin, at 282 feet below sea level, and holds the record for the highest reliably recorded air temperature on Earth at 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Ground temperatures can be even higher. In 1972, a surface temperature of 201 degrees Fahrenheit was recorded. It didn't get that hot while I was there, but it did reach 104 degrees Fahrenheit later in the day on my drive to the Nevada portion of the park. Despite its name, the park is home to diverse species, including rare fish in salt creeks, coyotes, and various desert plants. The park contains active sand dunes, salt flats, and volcanic craters such as Ubahibe Crater. While summers are dangerous, winter temperatures are mild, only reaching 68 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, making it a popular spot for camping and hiking. There is little to no self-service in the park, which is something I kept in mind on my journey to the highest point in Death Valley National Park.
So I'm starting the Telescope Peak Trail, and I'm trying to make it there and back before sunset. So shortly after sunrise, it's a little cooler. There's still snow at the top. I brought my microspikes, so we'll see what happens.
Telescope Peak reaches an impressive height of 11,049 feet, located in the Panamint Range. It offers 360-degree views stretching to Mount Whitney, which I last climbed a couple of years ago, and Death Valley's lowest point in Badwater Basin. It's named Telescope Peak because the panoramic views from the summit is so vast it feels like looking through a telescope. It's a 13 to 14 mile round-trip hike, typically considered difficult, with 3,000 feet of elevation gain. You access the trail via the Mahogany Flat Campground trailhead, usually reachable only with high-clearance 4x4 vehicles. However, the road to the trailhead is often closed in winter or during bad weather, adding to the hike distance. I took my RAV4 up there in the middle of the night and passed a herd of wild burros on the path there in the dark and on my way out the next day. It's a pretty rough road. I wouldn't drive it unless you have off-road experience. The campground there is dispersed. There are a couple tables and a vault toilet, but you should definitely check park regulations and permit requirements before heading out to the park. The trail to the peak passes through ancient brittle-cone pine forests and along steep rocky ridges. It's best hiked in late spring to fall. Snow is common in winter, requiring specialized winter mountaineering experience. There was still a lot of snow on the mountain on the last couple of miles to the peak at the end of March, early April when I went.
We did it. Like over 10,000 feet. Okay, so the trail sign says that it takes 7 miles. All Trails tells me that it was a little over 6 miles. Let me check my watch. Watch also says 6, and then that I did over 14,000 steps. I think it's just a little over 6 miles to the peak from the trailhead or the parking lot, but most people actually start a little further down because you actually have to off-road and drive to get up to the trailhead, even though that there's a camp. It's like, actually, it was pretty nerve-wracking trying to drive all that. I don't recommend it unless you have four-wheel drive. It's beautiful up here. I'm glad that I did it. Crossed off my list. I don't need to do it again for a while, though.
The unpaved road leading to some of the other backcountry camping spots includes the Wild Road charcoal kilns, which are 10 25-foot tall beehive-shaped historic masonry structures. They were built in 1877 by the Maddock Consolidated Mining Company to produce fuel for mining, and they are the best preserved, most iconic example of the kilns in the western U.S., located at an 8,000-foot elevation in the Panamint Range. They were only used for about 2 to 3 years before being abandoned in around 1879 to 1880. I actually downloaded the National Park Service app on my phone and made sure I downloaded the maps to see all of the other sites in the park while I was there. Scotty's Castle and Nevada portion of the park is closed, but the Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes, Artist Drive or Artist Palette, Badwater Salt Flats, Zabrisky's Point, Dante's Viewpoint, Harmony Borax Works, Father Crowley Vista Point in Rainbow Canyon, and Ubehebe Crater are some of the must-see sites that are open that you shouldn't miss. I also passed the Trona Pinnacles on the way to the park. They are a unique geological feature in the California Desert Conservation Area. The unusual landscape consists of more than 500 tufa spears, some as high as 140 feet, rising from the bed of the Searless Dry Lake Basin. The pinnacles vary in size and shape and are composed primarily of calcium carbonate. The Trona Pinnacles have actually been featured in commercials, films, and still photo shoots, and were designated as a National Natural Landmark by the U.S. Department of Interior in 1968. The Trona Pinnacles are located approximately 20 miles east of Ridgecrest. Access to the site is from a BLM dirt road that leaves the 178 about 7.5 miles east of the intersection of the 178 and the Trona Red Mountain Road. The 5-mile dirt road from the 178 to Pinnacles may be closed during winter months after heavy rain, but dispersed camping is allowed. However, there is no potable water or other developed facilities on site aside from a single vault toilet. The Pinnacles were formed between 10,000 and 100,000 years ago when the Searless Lake formed a link and chain of interconnected lakes flowing from the Owens Valley to Death Valley. At one point during the Pleistocene, the area was under 640 feet of water. If you're coming up the 395 from LA to go to Death Valley, then you should definitely stop at the Trona Pinnacles along the way. There are a lot of other amazing things to see out in the desert. Maybe that's for another video when the weather cools down again.